Airports Company South Africa is urging all those traveling abroad to check with their airline before making their way to OR Tambo International Airport. It comes as news of a potentially more transmissible COVID-19 variant made international headlines, with several countries banning travel to South Africa. We're joined by Airports Company South Africa's Group Executive for Operations Management, Terence Delomoney. Terence, good evening and thank you so much for your time. I imagine that just having the announcements of being on the red list of multiple countries has been quite a moment of havoc, especially for you as the Airports Company South Africa. Talk to us a little bit about what you've been going through over the last couple of days.
Thank you very much, Kathy. Certainly, it's all happened very quickly, in a way unexpectedly. And since Friday morning, when the UK first announced that we are now on a red list again, a number of international flights have been cancelled or suspended, and then we found a number of countries following suit. So we have a situation where we have a number of international guests in our country, and they can't actually leave at this point in time because the flights that they were scheduled to leave on are either cancelled or suspended. So as you can imagine, that created a panic amongst these passengers, and we found them at the airports, obviously coming through to the airport to try and get on these flights, which are being cancelled. In particular, OR Tambo International Airport and Cape Town International Airport, to a smaller extent Kinshasa, but those main gateways were really impacted. And we've had staff, passengers that were actually trying to get onto aircraft that were not there. In fact, some of the passengers even spent overnight in the airport. I know it's really a sad situation. However, it's how we respond, and if one can maybe look at our plan in terms of how we've dealt with that, and I would like to say it's based on 3 pillars. The first pillar being the airlines, which is a key component, and the communication between the airline to those passengers that are affected to actually communicate what is going on, what's happened with their flight. And the airlines have really been doing that, using all of the platforms, contacting passengers directly to inform them that their flights have been cancelled. So that communication between the airlines and the passengers is the first pillar. It's critical, and it gives passengers information. The second that's very important is what the embassies and are able to do to also help their citizens that find themselves stranded and can't leave the country. So I think that pillar is quite important. We've seen some embassy officials at some of our airports actually working and speaking to passengers to help them. And the third pillar is what we as Airports Company South Africa would do when we find ourselves in a situation with the number of passengers that we've had in the terminals, is really to play, firstly, that facilitatory role in terms of communication, is to ensure we have quite a management and a staff presence, to ensure that we have help agents and help desks that are manned, so the people that are there can actually come to us for information, and we generally redirecting them to the airlines. So it's also about how do we try and just ease the difficult situation that these passengers are going through. So what are the issues around comfort? The issues around health are quite critical, because whilst all of this is happening and people are panicked and wanting to get out, we still have a very strong health protocol and regulations to be followed. So our role is really to help those passengers on the floor to make sure that they're comfortable, that we're directing them correctly to the airlines, and also to ensure that our health protocol is being observed. We've even been.
So Terence, just so that we also have clarity, for the dozens of passengers that are currently gathered at ACSA airports, how are you handling them? So what is the response that you have for them? Are you turning people away? are you allowing them to stay at the airport indefinitely without any clarity even from the airlines as these negotiations between countries take place behind the scenes?
Well, certainly our first advice, and I think you mentioned it right up front, our advisory to passengers is please, before you make your way to the airport, please speak to your airline, because it's no point coming to the airport and you actually don't have an airline to fly out on. So that's the first. But however, you know, in the state that people are, that we are finding people at the airports. I must say the situation on Friday, Saturday, and even late last night, we had quite a few people in, but now we have had most of the people have actually left the airports. They've rebooked accommodation, and essentially it's to enable that, and we've actually helped people to phone accommodation, to do ground transport arrangements. But I think the important thing now is that the airlines and the countries that are impacted will start making arrangements during the course of the week, which will need to be communicated to these passengers via the airlines in terms of either repatriation flights or charter flights that will enable those passengers to leave.
All right, Terence. Unfortunately, we're going to have to leave it there for tonight. ACSA's Terence Delomoney, he is the Group Executive for Operations Management.